Let's start right away with our first session of the day with the topic that each and every one of you that has founded a startup or is about to found a startup has probably encountered. And it's most of the time it's a topic that is stressful, it consumes you fully, it needs your full attention. And most importantly, you need partners by your side, trustful partners by your side. And we have one of those partners here today, and he will give us insights on how to find the perfect investor for your startup, for your company, and which misconceptions you might encounter in the process of looking for funding and in order to build and sustain great relationships with sponsors and financiers. So please welcome on the stage with me the Managing Director of the Business Angels Club Berlin and Brandenburg, Sebastian Schwenke. Thanks for having me. Hi, nice to have you here. How are you doing today? How's everything?
Got a little bit of a sore throat, so I hope my voice will keep up. But other than that, happy to be here and looking forward for my talk.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. First time at Startup Night, right?
First time, right?
Yeah. How did you meet with Jem?
Actually, the Business Angels Club has been a partner in the last year, and I'm the new managing director. So my predecessor, Jesse Hartinger, has been here last year. And so we were invited again, and I'm super happy to be here and talk about Business Angels a little bit.
Nice. So what does the Business Angels Club Berlin-Brandenburg do?
Basically, we're a platform. So we have members on the one side, which are business angels, around 86. And our main goal is to connect them with early stage startups here in Berlin and Brandenburg.
And since when are you active?
Since February, but have been active as a pre-seed investor in and around the club for several years. So I knew the network before. It wasn't really a cold start for me.
Okay, cool. And so what's on your agenda for the next year or two? What are you planning?
First of all, women in investments, so female investors, are a big issue at the moment, or a big topic, because we really need to raise the numbers there. It's still a male-dominated industry, and we're trying to work the grassroots there to kind of improve that. Also, impact investments, a big topic for VCs at the moment, for basically everyone in the industry. I think we need to kind of change the way we work and especially consider like economical aspects and everything. So that would be the main two topics we're dealing with at the moment and having great plans for the future.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'd say you'll tell us probably more about it in your talk, and I'll leave the stage to you and see you in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so thanks again for having me, to the whole team of Startup Night and everyone here being present, everyone being here digitally. As introduced, I will talk a little bit about the very first steps on how to find, win, and work with business angels and investors in general, because there are some differences between institutionalized capital and private investors, like business angels are. But a lot of what I'm going to talk about is true for the same. Basically, it's a lot about personal relationships, especially in the very early stages. Investors will invest in teams, and teams need to find investors which really fit on a personal level. So the first question we would probably encounter, or I will talk about, is what business angels are actually like, for you to understand who you will be dealing with and how to approach them and talk to them in the later chapters. All right, so what is a business angel like? Let's start off with a definition at first. So a business angel is any private investor who invests know-how, network, and capital into startups and manages his portfolio actively. So some of the words are highlighted here, and that's for a good reason, because these are the words, or in the definition, that differentiate them from other types of investors, probably. So let's go through them from the back to the beginning. First of all, actively. So business angels aren't passive investors. They invest their money and they want to help startups, hands-on with a network and all they have, basically. So you wouldn't have an investor just investing and sitting there, but really be helping you. And they would really want to kind of be actively engaged in the company. That's important to keep in mind because you will have to deal a lot with investor relationships there. Startups, obviously, companies have to be scalable, have to be innovative for a business angel to bite. So they are kind of the first step in the VC landscape. So you need to be an innovative startup for a business angel to raise interest. Network, know-how, and capital are probably the main three pillars of a smart money investor. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. And most important, it's a private investor. So it's people actually investing their hard-earned money, so their own money, and not money other people trusted them to invest for. And the most important part of this definition, in my opinion, is any. Because business angel isn't really a defined term. Just anyone can call themselves a business angel. And this is important to keep in mind because there is some people in the industry that call themselves business angels, but don't really help startups. So be aware that it's not a fixed term, but everyone can basically call themselves a business angel. And therefore, it's a lot of people. And actually, a lot of people make up for a lot of funding, especially in the early stages. Around 74% of pre-seed funding comes actually from business angels or private investors. And according to the Startup Detector report from last year, there was over 4,000 people who actually invested their private money into startups. As mentioned before, unfortunately, only 10% are female business angels, but we are strongly working on that to improve that. Support and check out 25 to 25 by Svenja Lassen and support that because it's for the better cause. All right, so business angel are just private people. They're kind of people like you and me, if you want to say or put it that way. So from my observation, there's actually three types of business angels. First of all, there's the champions. This is like the well-known founders of big startup companies. You might know them from the media. They're very, very active in the ecosystem. They're very visible. The thing with the champions is usually, at least from my observation, they have a huge signaling effect if you can win them for your startup. But they don't necessarily invest a lot of money themselves. So they will bring other investors to the table, but it's not necessarily the champion you will be dealing with a lot because they're very busy in their own activities and in managing their portfolio. Also, it will be very hard to kind of reach to them because as they are so present, they're kind of like celebrities and they're probably not the perfect fit for every early stage startup. The next group of business angels are the hidden champions. They kind of are similar to the champions, but they aren't as visible in media or in the ecosystem. This type of business angel is actually really, really hard to reach because they will create most of the deal flow from their network, from their friends, and from their peers who they trust. So they are not that open to kind of cold calls, cold messages on LinkedIn, and open for startups just reaching out to them. And then the third group, and that's what we deal a lot with in the Business Angels Club in Brandenburg, are the regulars. I put it the regulars because it's still like top people actually, top tier managers, top tier consultants, lawyers, engineers, so people who have been really successful in their kind of industry and who have a more traditional mindset maybe to founding and building a company, but still have rather deep pockets and a very, very deep knowledge in specific industries. So those are kind of the ones you might be talking to a lot. And keep in mind that they might be not as fast thinking when it comes to scaling companies, but they have a lot of industry knowledge, which will help you quite a bit in building your own startup. So the next question would be, what is the purpose of a business angel? And that's important to understand as well, to kind of have the right expectations to a business angel, to actually be aware what you can expect from them and what they will expect from you. So basically, business angels are an entry point to the VC landscape. So what that means is every startup will go through several phases of investments, usually starting with a pre-seed investment, which is up to maybe 500K, then seed investment, which is up to 2 million probably, and then Series A, Series B, so on and so forth, till you finally exit your company and sell it probably to a bigger corporate or go to the or go IPO. So the purpose of the business angels is basically to kind of pick startups, promising startups from grants, from public grants, from incubation programs, acceleration programs, and so on and so forth. I kind of give them the first step and the first runway of like 18 to 24 months to actually, get going really. So business angels invest in startups which are 6 months before market entry, up to like 12 to maybe 18 months after they entered the market, which would be more a seed round then. But their real aim is to kind of get the startups, find product market fit with them together, and then make them VC investable, VC financeable for the later stages. So how do angels do that? There is a saying of an angel having 2 wings. One, the obvious, is capital. Basically, they invest in between 25 to 50K per ticket. Some business angels do larger tickets from 100K, 150K, but that's what you can basically expect from the money side of things. But business angels rarely invest alone. They tend to invest in groups. So be prepared that you might have like 3, 4, 5 business angels in your cap table for the first financing round. But that's probably not the most important thing. So the capital is only a small bit of the activities a business angel would do and how a business angel would contribute to your startup. Their main purpose is actually to provide perspectives and market knowledge, so invest know-how in your company, to really help you avoid mistakes they probably have made in the past in building their own companies. Second most very important part is actually business angels create access to public funding. So a lot of public funding programs will require you to have private investors or private money on board. And this is, by the way, this is true for many VC companies as well. So you would probably need a business angel to get started with your company and start the fundraising game. And then, very important, business angels bring networks. So they know other investors, they know other business angels. And once you convince one, it's usually guaranteed that you meet a bunch of them because they will introduce your company to others, to other peers in the network. All right, so after understanding how business angels act, what they think, what they are, the question would be where to find them. And if you go on LinkedIn or Google the obvious choices and just type in business angel, you probably find thousands and thousands of entries. And it's very hard for a startup kind of to figure out who would be the right fit and who would be a business angel who would really help you. Then there's also investment or matching platforms, which are great, but usually a little bit for the later stages in general. And then there's long lists like here in Berlin, the Startupnight Berlin, where you find a lot of investors as well. But what I really, really recommend you is to check out angel networks because they actually pre-select the angels, so you can be sure that it's actually good angels that can really help startups, and you can be sure it's people who actually want to invest and not only are interested in talking to startups and kind of getting engaged with the scene. So business angels networks play a big role in Germany. There's over 35 business angel networks, and it's very important to know that business angels tend to invest locally. I mean, here Berlin is kind of the startups capital of Germany, so every angel would have some kind of connection to the city, but be aware that like business angels from Munich, for example, might only invest in Munich companies or in Munich-based companies. So kind of the choice of where your company will be located could kind of contribute also to what kind of business angels you can reach out to or would invest in your company. So the next question then, after you found the business angels, the question would be how to approach them. And there's several channels you could go for, but it's very important to note that there is the right timing for each channel. So the best thing to actually meet business angel or get in touch with are actually direct events. So go to events, especially now with a lot of events happening digitally. It's much easier to kind of reach out, participate, and actually talk to business angels there. So what I would do is in the first step, in the first approach, you really need to kind of get the other side excited, but also start building trust. Don't kind of go fundraising straight away, but kind of try to create connection nodes and then actually kind of make the deal afterwards. So go for events, talk to people there, digitally or offline. Other startups, it's a very good channel as well because you get direct feedback on how well those investors of other startups actually work together with them. And then there's social media. I mean, direct LinkedIn messages, that's really a numbers game. It can really work well. But please don't go for copy and paste messages because try to be individual. That really raises your chances of connecting. And very important is also the kind of indirect social media or LinkedIn approach where your company profile has to be visible because the best thing would be if an investor already seen your company profile, read your success stories on social media, and then you actually make the connection and they kind of have you in the back of their heads anyways. That would really, really work well. And then after you make the first approach and first connection, obviously there's a lot of emails and then a video call where you probably will have to pitch your startup to really generate the interest and get to know the investors better. So what are business angels looking for? First of all, a complete team. That's a must-have. Also, obviously, a clear problem, a growing market. A big question a lot of startups actually forget to talk about is why now and why the founders team, so why you. You need to have a solid MVP and really need to show that there's some kind of traction or idea validation. So signups or pilot beta customers or even revenue, if you're in a little bit of a later stage, will be very, very important to kind of convince business angels. So the main question business angels actually try to answer is for pre-seed startups, will you be able to generate revenue within the next 6 months? And for seed startups, will you be VC financeable in 12 to 24 months? And everything you actually pitch has to kind of come down to those two questions and make the investor or business angel feel good about that you can actually reach those very important milestones. So how to convince them? Some just tips. Be well prepared, please. Like have a pitch deck, a solid one. Have a 3-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch, and a 10-minute pitch up your sleeve. Prepare, before you go fundraising, prepare a data room with all the important documents of your company because you need to show them in the due diligence process. And it comes in so handy if you have them on demand and can just share the access. Be honest and show your weaknesses because weaknesses are actually can be a unique selling proposition to an investor because a business angel wants to kind of help with his own know-how. So if you show him a weakness where he thinks he can actually help you with, that would actually raise the interest for him. Then very important, share traction results in success stories because talking about the positive side of things and really having tangible examples really makes you credible in a way. And have laser focus on a niche, so really go narrow and deep at first rather than shallow and broad. And a pro tip for every conversation, have call to action or outlooks to keep the conversation running and keep the opposite side engaged and don't kind of let conversations just like die in the sand. All right, so there's some pro tips I want to share with you just in the end. So very important, know what you want and know your weaknesses. Start with why and communicate in simple to grasp stories. Keep it short and simple. Name recognized people and institutions to work with because it's very important for your credibility. Ask for recommendations and ask questions in general. Don't annoy people, but share your successes. Try to connect to people around your target because directly it might be a little bit harder to actually make the contact and use every chance to network and build relationships. And some common mistakes, lack of commitment is a big one. So I see a lot of startups which actually start the interaction but then kind of fade out. Be aware that you have to communicate your idea in very simple in very simple bits kind of because you have to know your audience. And be good with your strategy, so don't hide weaknesses and raise the right amount of money. Don't raise too much, rather put it in small steps and try to go for from 12, 18 months, maybe 24 months and go from there. And also, in the end, maybe equity investment isn't the right choice of financing for you. So think about loans, think about other forms of investment that might help your company, like grants especially. All right. So finding the right fit. The term smart money will occur quite a lot to you. And what does that actually mean? Well, to be honest, not much. It really only is the will or shows the willingness of an investor or business angel to provide resources. And every investor will provide background, network, and vision. So it is you who has to be smart about it. And finding the right investor is like finding a customer, but you won't sell your product, but you will sell your company and yourself. So it's very important to actually know who you're getting in bed with. So always remember, it's people you're dealing with. And what's the first step in getting to know someone? Ask a question. And I see a lot of startups which actually try to pitch their business, who try to pitch their idea so much that they really forget about asking the other side. And asking questions really helps enabling trust in a relationship. So be aware that you have to ask questions, be brave, be confident, and thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Sebastian. Interesting talk. We do have a couple of questions from the audience. So I want to ask you them, and you can elaborate on them and just maybe explain also from your Business Angels Club perspective. So Tom is asking, are there any main topics of the Business Angel Clubs or network? And how can you find out whether they exist at all?
Like, in general, business angels come from very diverse backgrounds. So, for example, in our network, we are industry agnostic, so there's basically for every industry and every idea, there is a business angel who will fit. Also, from different backgrounds, like a sales or a marketing background, will be very helpful for kind of any business or any startup. So basically, business angels are rather open and act really opportunistic, to be honest. So usually, if you have one angel who has a good signal effect, a lot of other angels will come who are not necessarily from the industry, but they trust this one peer that the technology side of things is solid, and then will help with other kind of soft skills or other parts in the business. You can really help.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. And you as the Business Angels Club, are you actively looking for startups, or are you trying to make connections? How would you approach this?
Yeah, so we have a lot of network partners here in the city, especially basically with all the incubation programs, with all the universities, basically everywhere where startups are kind of grown. We have connections with them. We are at the demo days. We have workshops with the team, so we try to establish like a personal connection quite early. And that's basically how we source our deal flow, and that's how we then take the startups from there and connect them with our angels.
Cool. And another question that I wrote up actually, because I like this. Fuck ups. Have you experienced any fuck ups in the last year?
Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty of them. I mean, it is like from an investor's point of view, startup investments are high risk investments. So basically 1 out of 10 startups will really excel and be really a really good deal. Whereas probably 3 will kind of get you revenue or grow slowly, and the others will just kind of drop out within the first 2 years. So obviously we had plenty of fuck ups in the last years. And the important part about it is it's kind of natural. So don't get yourself down when your company isn't working, a startup isn't as scaling as you would like to, because it's just normal. People have to get that in their mind that failure is not a problem, but rather it's just inherent in the industry.
And would you say, coming back to the topic of Startup Night, be confident that confidence is something that you are looking for in founders, and yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, confidence is probably one very important attribute to founders to be able to kind of reach out to people, as investors, customers, so on and so forth. So you need to be confident about your idea, obviously, to kind of get people follow you and kind of engage with you. But then again, you need to have this kind of visionary who's super confident about the idea, but you also need people in the team who are a little bit more down to earth to kind of keep everything running and kind of catch back the visionary at times and say, all right, we can't move that fast probably.
So keeping a balance is the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Sebastian, thank you very much. If you have any last words, or maybe where people can apply or contact you,
yeah,
maybe.
So for every startup who wants to reach out to us, find us on LinkedIn, check out our website, bacb.de. You can apply there directly with your pitch deck, answer some questions, or reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're always happy to help and always try to get you actually there through the ecosystem and the fundraising process from the very beginning.
Perfect. Sebastian, thank you very much for being here, for joining us on this stage today.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great rest of the day. And
Thanks.
yeah, see you next year, probably.
Yeah,
Latest.
hopefully.